On today's show, I didn't believe in moral victories for a team that's already won 60 plus games. And then Thursday night happened. We'll talk about that, plus Kenny Atkinson getting tossed out of this game. That's all straight ahead on today's edition of Locked On Cavs.
You are Locked On Cavs, your daily Cleveland Cavaliers podcast.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, everybody? My name's Danny Cunningham. You might know me from my time covering the Cleveland Cavaliers, places like my Substack, The Inside Shot, Cleveland Magazine, 92.3 The Fan, and a number of other stops along the way. I want to say thank you to you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. You can find the show anywhere you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And if you're watching the show on YouTube, do me a favor. Hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And today's show is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. The Cleveland Cavaliers on Thursday night lost to the Indiana Pacers 114-112. And I am somebody that I believe in moral victories to a point. I think if you are a team that is tanking and playing for lottery balls rather than playoff positioning, sure, having good showings in games that you ultimately lose can be a moral victory and ultimately a good thing for the franchise. I didn't think that they existed for a team that has won 63 games. And then I watched the Cavs play the Pacers on Thursday night. Donovan Mitchell still dealing with that left ankle sprain. He didn't play. Darius Garland didn't play in this game, out with a great toe sprain on his left foot. Not something to be concerned about. Max Strus did not play, out with a right knee contusion. Not something to be concerned about. Evan Mobley didn't play in this game. Rest. Obviously not something to be concerned about. Jared Allen only played in the first half of this game for the Cavs because he wants to play in all 82 games, and that's really the only reason he played on Thursday night. So when that happens against a Pacers team that is still playing for something, Indiana, if they win their remaining games, can move up to the number 3 spot in the standings. They needed a win on Thursday night to clinch home court advantage in the first round of the Eastern Conference playoffs. They're playing for something. Tyrese Halliburton played 35 minutes in this game. Miles Turner played. Pascal Siakam played. Like everybody that is of importance for the Pacers played in this game. They wanted to win this game. They tried to win this game. This was an important game for Indiana in a way that it very much was not for the Cavaliers. So what happens? The Cavs almost won this game. And the Cavs almost won this game with a closing group because, we can go through the starters, which Ty Jerome got the start, played very, very well, which I think was a really predictable thing because anytime that Donovan Mitchell has been out or Darius Garland has been out, Ty has answered the bell time and time and time again. He's been fantastic in those situations. And I thought he was really, really good, surprise to nobody, on Thursday night against the Pacers. Sam Merrill got the start. He played well. He's been shooting the ball, I think, a lot better than people realized. He hit 5 threes in this game. DeAndre Hunter started. He had 24 points in the starting lineup, played over 30 minutes, thought he did some good things, especially the rebounding. Like the fact that DeAndre Hunter, who I think one of the knocks on him is that he doesn't rebound the ball well enough for somebody of his size. The fact that he went out and got double-digit rebounds, really good sign for the Cavs. Dean Wade started, and Jared Allen started, played in the first half only, did not play in the second half. Isaac Okoro got the start in his place in the second half instead. So that was the starting 5. That was not the closing 5, right? Like we've had this conversation, and Kenny Atkinson has talked about it, that it can sometimes be more important who closes games rather than starts games. And that is certainly the conversation with the Cavs starting small forward spot between DeAndre Hunter and Max Strus. So the closing 5 in this game: Craig Porter Jr., Javonte Green, Isaac Okoro, Tristan Thompson, and Jalen Tyson. That was the 5 that played the majority of the fourth quarter. Sam Merrill played some of the fourth quarter, but he checked out with about 5 minutes left to go, did not check back in. Ty Jerome, I do not believe, played in the fourth quarter. DeAndre Hunter checked out midway through the fourth quarter, did not return. The Cavs closed this game with 4 players that are not in their regular rotation, and one in Isaac Okoro, who I'm not sure is going to be in the postseason rotation. I think that there might be room for him. There might not be room for him. It might be something that is matchup dependent, whether or not he plays in the postseason rotation for the Cavs. So that's what the closing five was against the Pacers, who, as I mentioned, were playing to win this game, needed to win this game, and closed this game with Pascal Siakam, Aaron Nesmith, Miles Turner, Tyrese Halliburton, and Andrew Nembhard. They're starting five. Like, that group closed this game, and the Pacers won their 50th game of the season by beating the Cavs on Thursday night. And the Cavs almost won this game. Like, the Cavs, Isaac Okoro had a wide open three with about 30 seconds left, 35 seconds left. If he makes that shot from the left wing, Cavs might win this game. That is how slim that margin was. And I think that this game can be looked at as a little bit of psychological warfare, because the Pacers might see the Cavs in the second round. They could finish fourth. Their most likely outcome is that they do finish fourth. I would pick Indiana to beat either Milwaukee or Detroit in the first round, whoever's going to finish fifth, which is still up in the air. Those two teams play each other tonight and Sunday, and that will decide that. But this could be the team the Cavs see with a trip to the conference finals on the line. And the Pacers have beaten the Cavs once when everybody plays. It came shortly after the Cavs beat Oklahoma City. This was the team that snapped Cleveland's 12-game winning streak during the month of January. So they know they can do it. And that was one of the worst losses the Cavs had. I just kind of felt like that was a game where the Cavs ran out of gas very much. And then the Cavs went to Indy and beat them like 10 days later. But if the Cavs would have played everybody in this game, and the Pacers could have won that game, it's possible. Like, especially without Donovan Mitchell, because when I say everybody, I'm not counting him. Like, I don't, and we can talk about what the rest of the season looks like. I don't think it would be wise. I would be surprised if he plays against New York on Friday, and then I would be surprised if anybody of consequence plays on Sunday against the Pacers when these two teams match up again. But let's say that the Cavs play everybody in this game and Indiana wins. The Pacers would then, I think, as I mentioned, I would predict them to beat whoever is the 5 seed. The Pacers would go into that series against the Cavs with a lot of confidence, because they would be one of very few teams in the East that has beat the Cavs twice this year. Certainly amongst the playoff teams. I mean, you go through the list, you go through the standings. Who in the East has beaten the Cavs 2 times? Boston has. That those two teams split. They're 2-2 against each other. The Knicks haven't won a game. Maybe they win on Friday, but I don't know who's going to be playing for the Cavs. The Cavs swept the Bucks. The Cavs went 3-1 against Detroit. Atlanta, sure, but that's a play-in team. That's kind of, the Pacers could be looking at that and saying, you know what, we kind of maybe have their number. The Cavs didn't give them that opportunity, and I think that was wise to do so, because if the Pacers would have won that game, it could have been something that gave them confidence. Instead, what happened is the Cavs, I thought, did a very smart thing, and they put the Pacers in a situation where, in terms of confidence, there was really nothing to gain. Like, if Indiana would have beaten this version of the Cavs that didn't have any all-stars playing in the game, do you really add confidence from that? Like, say they win that game by 20. Do the Pacers feel confident that, oh man, we really put it to the Cavs near the end of the regular season? We feel way better about that matchup in the postseason now? No, of course not. That would not happen, because the Pacers are not stupid. They know that the Cavs are going to be a much different team than the one that showed up to Indianapolis on Thursday night. So the Cavs did a good job, I think, of just not allowing that to happen by who they chose not to play in this game. But then the fact that this was a game the Cavs can make a case should have won, despite none of the current all-stars playing, despite the fact that the closing 5 was 4 guys not in the rotation right now, and one that might not be in the postseason rotation in Isaac Okoro. I think that is the type of result that I mentioned, a moral victory earlier in this show. That's the type of result that is a moral victory for the Cavs. And yes, it goes in the standings as a loss. The Cavs are now 63-17 instead of 64-16 because of the result of this game. The Pacers get their 50th win. But it doesn't feel like this was a loss for the Cavs. And in the same way, and if you want to get the sense of what things felt like for the Pacers, I would encourage you to go check out Locked On Pacers with friend of the show, Tony East, what he has to say about this game. But I would imagine this doesn't necessarily feel like a really great win for the Pacers, the same way that Indiana beating Washington and come from behind fashion the other night probably didn't feel like a great win for Indiana, because it shouldn't have. This is a moral victory for the Cavs, but more importantly, I think this is psychological warfare against the Indiana Pacers, because the Pacers could have had an opportunity to build confidence against the Cavs in a game that still mattered for them. It didn't matter for the Cavs, but still mattered for them. If they would have beat Darius Garland and Evan Mobley and Jarrett Allen playing his full minutes allotment, then okay, you might feel differently about this. But the fact that they nearly lost a game when the guy with the ball in his hands with the game on the line was Craig Porter Jr. instead of Donovan Mitchell or Darius Garland or Evan Mobley, and Tyrese Halliburton played 35 minutes in that game, and everybody else for Indy played, and they needed to win this game, and that's what the result looked like. I think that is something that if you're Indiana, that might be something that's a little bit more of a confidence shaker rather than something that adds to confidence. Of course, the Pacers should be happy they won this game, but the fashion that this game played out, even though it's a loss, I think this is one that if you're the Cavs, you should be really, really happy about, other than going into Indy and winning a game without most of the key players. This was the next best thing that could have happened for the Cavs, because if they go into the playoffs and these two teams see each other in the second round, which again is a very real possibility, I think a lot of guys on both sides are going to remember what happened on Thursday night in Indy. And I think that is something that benefits the Cavs quite a bit. Now, one of the other explosive things to come out of Thursday, Kenny Atkinson got thrown out of the game for defending Tristan Thompson. I want to talk about why I think that is something that's important. I'm going to do that next right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by DoorDash. NBA fans, get ready, because they swoosh, you save thanks to Dash Pass. Every time a player drops 50 or more points in a game, you score a huge deal the next day. It's simple. When any player scores 50 or more in a game during the 2024-2025 NBA regular season, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order, up to $10 off the next day from noon until midnight. Maybe you wanted to stay up late. You know, the Cavs were on national TV. There was a game on national TV after them. I'm recording this during halftime of that game. So maybe somebody like Anthony Edwards goes for 50 points. I know he had a strong flurry in the first half. I don't know where he's going to finish, but maybe you wanted to stay up and watch and see if he could get to 50. And let's just pretend for a second that he does. Well, if he does, you are taken care of with Dash Pass the next day. What you need to do is you need to sign up for Dash Pass and be ready to save, because when any player scores 50 or more in a game, Dash Pass members get 50% off an order the next day, up to $10 off. Just use promo code NBA50, that is NBA50, from noon to midnight after a 50-point game on eligible orders at participating merchants. Must have an active Dash Pass account. Terms apply. Visit DoorDash to learn more. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, you can find the show anywhere you get your podcast, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating. Leave us a nice review. Be a friend. Tell a friend. Make sure you're subscribed. Make sure a friend is subscribed as well. And make sure you're also subscribed to the Locked On Cavs daily newsletter, because the playoffs are almost here. And the Locked On Cavs daily newsletter has expert analysis, insider insights, and all of the playoff action delivered straight to your inbox for free. Plus, if you sign up now, you'll be entered to win one of these 3 amazing prizes: a $2,500 Best Buy gift card, a $300 Gametime gift card, or a $200 Fanatics gift card. It is easy and free to enter. Simply subscribe between now and April 30th to be automatically entered to win. Don't miss a moment of what could be a championship run for the Cavs. Join the Locked On Cavs daily newsletter today. Sign up at LockedOnDaily.com. That is LockedOnDaily.com. So with 58 seconds left in the third quarter, Kenny Atkinson received 2 technical fouls. He received those technical fouls because he was arguing that Tristan Thompson should have received a foul call. And Thompson threw up what was a bit of a wild layup attempt, runner attempt. He was fouled on the play and it was not called. So Tristan and Kenny both had a legitimate gripe here. But it went in. It should have been an and one for Tristan. And Kenny Atkinson picked up a technical pretty quickly, and he got his money's worth and picked up another technical. I can't say what it appeared as if he were saying, but I don't think you need to be an expert lip reader if you were watching that broadcast to understand the message Kenny Atkinson was trying to get across to the officiating crew. But this is something that I think sent a greater message other than just Tristan Thompson was fouled. I don't think that's what this was necessarily about, because we know, listen, Tristan Thompson in 2025 is not what Tristan Thompson was as a basketball player back in 2016. He had a nice two-handed dunk in this game where for a second I'm like, what year is it? Got to check my calendar. But he's not that guy. And he is on this roster more so because of the things that he provides the team off of the court. He's a very good basketball mind. I think he's a very strong presence in that locker room. I think he's a great vet to have around the team. But if the Cavs are needing to turn to Tristan Thompson in an important game in the playoffs, something probably went wrong elsewhere. And I don't know that anybody would love their chances if they need to rely on him to play those big minutes. But the fact that Kenny was standing up for Tristan in this moment, in a game that to the Cavs meant nothing, a win would not have improved their chances of winning the title. A loss does not harm their chances of winning a title. This game for the Cavs meant absolutely nothing in the standings. But Kenny Atkinson went after the officiating crew really, really hard because it was sending a message, not just about Tristan Thompson, but about the rest of the team. Because if Kenny Atkinson has the back of Tristan Thompson, who, let's face it, does not play, should not play major minutes for this team, is not what he once was as a basketball player, that tells everybody on that roster, that tells everybody in the world that Kenny Atkinson is willing to go to bat for every single player on this roster. Because Tristan Thompson, right now, the Cavs have 18 guys under contract. I don't know if Tristan is number 18, but he's probably number 15 ahead of the two-way guys in Luke Travers, Amani Bates, and Naquan Tomlin. Maybe he's number 14. Maybe. But the fact that Kenny was willing to go to bat in such an aggressive manner for somebody who doesn't factor into wins and losses, I think says a lot about what he has done in that locker room. And I think the fact that he's willing to do that for Tristan says he'd be willing to do that for anybody. And this was not about Tristan Thompson deserving a foul call. This was about entering the postseason and kind of one final time, because I would not expect Kenny Atkinson to get tossed tonight against New York or on Sunday against the Pacers again. I think that this was one final time as the Cavs are going into the postseason. It's Kenny Atkinson saying, guys, I got your back. I've got your back when things are going to get tough, because things are at some point going to get tough. It's not going to be all sunshine and rainbows. They're not going to go 16-0 in the postseason. They will face adversity in the playoffs. But when those things get tough, Kenny Atkinson is going to have the back of every player in that locker room. And I think that is something that he has shown throughout this year, more so behind closed doors than what everybody gets to see on game day. And I think that is part of the reason why the Cavs have been so successful this year. We have spent a lot of time talking about what the Cavs do differently with Kenny Atkinson as their head coach, offensively, changing things up defensively, like a lot of schematic stuff, a lot of stuff that you can see just by watching the game, the fact that they play with more pace, the fact that he's empowered Evan Mobley, like all these things. But by the end of last season, I think it's fair to say there was not necessarily complete and total buy-in from the locker room into JB Bickerstaff as a coach. And I do think that there is complete and total buy-in from this group into Kenny Atkinson as a head coach. And I think that all year long, this team has had Kenny Atkinson's back. And listen, he has earned that because he's been fantastic. He is a very worthy coach of the year candidate. He is somebody that, and I don't have a vote, but if I did have a vote, Kenny Atkinson would receive it. I would not have to do any more thinking about that. And it's probably been a long time since I would have needed to think about that just with what this year has gone. And yes, I'm up close to this, so I have a different perspective. Maybe somebody nationally might still need to be swayed one way or the other between JB Bickerstaff in Detroit and Kenny Atkinson here. But as somebody who's watched this transformation up close and saw what the Cavs were last year compared to now, I don't need any more convincing. Like, I know that is how this should play out. But they've had his back all year, and he's earned that. And I just think that this was one last message of saying, hey, I've got your back, guys. Doesn't matter if it's Tristan Thompson or Sam Merrill or Donovan Mitchell. Kenny's going to have everybody's back the same. And that is something that I think is a really good quality to have in a coach. And I do think that tonight isn't something that you look at and say, man, because Kenny got tossed defending or pleading for Tristan Thompson, they made the right decision. It's the totality of what this season has been that shows you they made the right decision in hiring Kenny Atkinson. But I do think that a moment like this, even coming in a loss, even doing so for Tristan Thompson, should give this team a little bit more confidence in their coach. Not to say that they were ever short on it, because they have been very confident in Kenny. But I think that this is a moment that can bring this group a little bit closer together. And when I say this group, I'm not talking about just the guys that lace up the sneakers. I'm talking about the coaching staff included. And I think that this sort of moment can be all around, and I'm sure Kenny Atkinson will get fined for this, but that doesn't matter. I think that this moment all around is something that can bring everybody closer together. And with the playoffs on the horizon, that is, to me, nothing but a gigantic positive for this team. Now, the Cavs play tonight against the Knicks. They play Sunday against the Pacers. What should they look like? Who should play? Plus, we will talk a little bit more about the actual game that was played against Indiana. That's straight ahead right here on Locked On Cavs. Today's show is brought to you by Gametime. There's nothing like the energy of a live game, whether it's going to a baseball game, which you could have done this week in Cleveland. You could do, I believe, this weekend. They're at home in Cleveland. It's not going to necessarily be the best weather, which does mean you will get the best deals for said baseball game with Gametime. Or maybe you are saving up because you want to go to game one of the postseason in Cleveland coming up a week from Sunday. And there's nothing to me that compares with the excitement of an NBA playoff game. And finding great seats for that sort of matchup at a great price, well, that is a necessity as well. That could be a challenge, but with Gametime, it's not. And I will tell you why. Gametime makes scoring last-minute tickets easier than ever. And prices usually drop as the event gets closer. With the all-in pricing feature that Gametime has, you'll see the total cost up front. No surprises at checkout. That's something that I really do not like as a consumer, but Gametime takes that away. They will show you the all-in prices, and that is something that makes it really, really great. Save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy. There's a big concert in town tonight, theater, all of that stuff. You get great deals with Gametime again, up to 60% off last minute. And you get peace of mind because the seat views before you buy, no surprise fees, and a lowest price guarantee means you are booking with confidence on Gametime. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA, that is LOCKEDONNBA, for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download Gametime today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thank you again for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today and every day. Like I said earlier, if you're watching the show on YouTube, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss the latest Locked On Cavs content, a proud part of the Locked On Podcast Network. So as I mentioned earlier, several of the key players for the Cavs did not play, and really the only rotation player that saw a full minutes allotment was Isaac Okoro. Isaac played, I guess DeAndre Hunter did too, and Dean Wade. But those guys Ty played 25 minutes, which is more than his normal minutes, but he was very clearly on a restriction because he didn't close this game out. Like if he were just, hey, Ty, go play 35 minutes, I think the Cavs actually probably win this game. Sam Merrill didn't close this game out. DeAndre Hunter didn't close this game out. Dean Wade didn't close this game out. I do think it's sort of a fun thought exercise to think, well, how many games would this team win if this were the starting five? Like, what would that look like? And I kind of think that this would be a team that's similar to Atlanta or Orlando right now, not necessarily in terms of higher end talent, because this group doesn't have a Trae Young or a Paolo Banchero on it. But I think this group would be tough to play. Like, I really do. I think this is a team that could probably win 40 games with the roster that played tonight. And I just think that really speaks to what this depth is. But I do think the Cavs probably win this game. And listen, Ty was fantastic, especially in the first half. He had 24 points on 9 of 16 shooting, 4 of 6 from 3, because of course he did. Like, he was just awesome. DeAndre Hunter had 23 points. He had 11 rebounds, which I think is a really big deal just because he doesn't rebound well for his size, and the Cavs are going to need more of that. So the fact that he stepped up with guys out was a really, really good sign. Sam Merrill hit 5 threes. He was really good in this game too. So those are certainly all positive signs that I think all of the role players that mattered had good games, despite the fact that the stars weren't there. Like, I think that is, if you want to take away one basketball thing from this, I think it's that. It's that, Ty doesn't necessarily just have good games because he plays against second units when Donovan and or Darius are on the bench. Or it's not, Sam can't handle a bigger responsibility. That's just not true. Or DeAndre, maybe this is something that could spring him forward to being a better rebounder when playing the power forward spot next to Evan Mobley. Like, all of those things I think are just positives to come out of tonight. But moving forward, and Kenny Atkinson told reporters in Indiana before the game, and very clearly, I did not go to this game. I planned on it. If the Cavs did not beat Chicago on Tuesday night and clinch the 1 seed, I was going to get in my car this morning, Thursday morning, and drive to Indianapolis for this game because it would have mattered for the Cavs. But the fact that it didn't saved me a lot of gas money. So I'm thankful for that. I did not want to go to this game. I wanted to stay in Cleveland because I'm going to be on the road all postseason long. But that's what I was very happy about. But Kenny, before the game, did tell assembled media in Indianapolis that the starters will play again this season. I don't know if that means Donovan Mitchell. I would assume it does not include Donovan Mitchell, but I don't know that for sure. So this leads me to think, and if you watched this game, you saw that Darius Garland was shown on the bench, Evan Mobley was shown on the bench, and Max Strus was shown on the bench throughout the game on TNT. And if you are on social media, you saw that Donovan Mitchell was posting on Twitter throughout this game and was not on the bench. So that leads me to believe that he will not be playing against the Knicks on Friday. But I do think that Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, and Max Strus will play against New York. Now, how much will they play against the Knicks? I have no idea, but I would expect them all to at least play a little bit. Maybe it's only the first half, the way that Jarrett Allen played, but I would expect them to play a little bit. I don't know that all of the other role players are going to play. Like Ty Jerome will play 25 minutes. Maybe he doesn't play against New York. Maybe DeAndre Hunter sits a game. Maybe Sam Merrill doesn't play. I could see the Cavs wanting to get those guys rest because then they have a game Sunday that I think is going to be a whole lot of just end of the bench guys. I would be surprised if anybody of consequence plays on Sunday. Jarrett Allen will probably do the thing where he goes out for the opening tip, wins or loses it against whoever Indiana is going to throw out at center in that game, and then immediately takes a foul and checks out of the game and changes his shoes and just, that's that. He played in all 82, might only play 2 seconds in game 82, but that still counts as playing the game. So that is how I think things should look moving forward. I don't know if it makes sense to play a complete, full, total game against the Knicks on Friday night for the starters. I think it makes sense to play at least a little bit for the starters against the Knicks on Friday night. Sort of treat it like it's a preseason game where you want to get guys burned, but you don't want to overwhelm anybody. The priority against New York and against Indy, although I think it just matters less against Indy because I don't think anyone's going to play. the priority needs to be staying healthy. And I think that very much is the priority for this team. I think that they are trying to do everything they possibly can to stay healthy. And that's just what we're seeing. So that is how I think things should be handled. I don't know. I think we'll all find out Friday. The injury report that comes out Friday afternoon against New York will definitely be an interesting one to see. But I am planning on doing a podcast after the Knicks game. I don't know for sure, but I am planning on doing that. And of course, I will be back on Monday morning, maybe Sunday night, just depending on the timing of things. I will be back after the final regular season game against the Pacers. So make sure that you are subscribed to this podcast wherever you get your podcasts, Apple, Spotify, anywhere else. Drop us a 5-star rating, leave us a nice review, be a friend, tell a friend about Locked On Cavs. And thank you. Thank you for making Locked On Cavs your first listen today, every day, and all season long. And if you're watching the show on YouTube, as we get out of here, do me a favor, hit that thumbs up button for me, click subscribe, and hit that notification bell. And I will be back later talking about the Cavs.